on? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Who Gives a Dram? It's been a little bit. Been away for a few weeks. And we're back this week. I don't even really know how to start this episode, to be completely honest with you guys. It's been a little bit. Like I said, last episode was January 9th. This is going to come out February 1st. So one podcast in January. Unlike me. So I apologize for those who have been waiting for an episode. We're still ranked in Sweden, though. That's good news. We're something like in the 200s in Sweden. So thank you for that, all my Swedish people friends. Very nice of you. Today's definitely going to be a shorter episode. I have 2 whiskeys in front of me that, in all honesty, I do not want to drink tonight. But I'm going to. And I am happy to tonight. And I wasn't even planning on recording tonight, to be completely honest with you. I was sitting on the couch drinking my sleepy time tea. And I had the feeling come through me that I had the words finally to express how I'm feeling, and I was ready to get back onto the podcast mode. So that's what this is, getting back into the podcast mode. As you may know, if you follow me on Instagram, if you follow me on Facebook, if you follow Bourbon with Friends, I have been inactive the past few weeks, aside from a few posts about my Jefferson White interview, which was fantastic. And this podcast, Who Gives a Dram, Bourbon with Friends, whiskey, really hasn't been on the top of my mind for the past few weeks. I actually had an episode recorded a few weeks ago reviewing the new Castle and Key wheated bourbon, and I decided not to release it once I heard the news about what happened about an hour after I recorded that episode. So that will come out soon, or maybe I'll redo it. I'm not too sure, but this episode I'm doing for one reason and one reason only, and that is to honor my good friend, my family, a good man, a good husband, a good father, John Harrington, who unexpectedly passed away a few weeks ago. And just something that's hit me pretty hard. John was not only, my cousin's husband. Not only was he the father to 2 of the coolest kids I know, Mountain Man Jack and Squeaky Pipes Piper, but I considered him a cousin of my own. I considered him a friend, most importantly. And I know that John would want me to record the podcast, but he'd also want me to review these 2 whiskeys that I'm going to review, so he could laugh at me as I struggle to drink both of them. And I'll get into that in a second. But John passed away a few weeks ago. And between that and my Uncle Craig, it's been a hell of a few months, to say the least. And really the first time that I've had to deal with death, I suppose, knock on wood, because I've been fortunate enough to have such a big family, a tight-knit family, close family, where I see everybody all the time, and you don't really think about it. You don't think about never seeing somebody again. And that's been the case for 2 very important men in my life in the past few months. My Uncle Craig was John's father-in-law, and John was very hurt, very shocked, and very upset with the passing of Uncle Craig, but he really helped not only the family, but he helped me get through that difficult time, as I'm sure we all helped him as well. And I was always close to John, but I felt I grew very tight with him in those few months as we mourned the loss of his father-in-law, my uncle, my godfather, my dad's brother. And we were all there for each other as a family. And John really manned up, for lack of a better term, and helped my dad, me, my brother, my Uncle Craig's children, Tessa and Dean, and my Aunt Jeannie, Craig's wife, through that time. And he felt as much of a Gilbert as one could be. Yeah, he was a Harrington. And I'll be forever thankful for John for that. The fact that he was there, he went through it all right with us, and he continued to laugh through it. And that was important to me because I was upset and I didn't want to laugh. I didn't want to joke around. And it was the first time, one of the only times I felt that way in my life. And John was there to crack the jokes, to pat you on the back, to make you laugh, and to tell you that everything was going to be okay. And I believed him. So to hear the news that he had passed really hit me hard. And I still think about it a lot. And I still think about it a lot of emotions come through me as I think about it. But I wanna tell two funny stories about John, and then we're gonna review this whiskey, and I hope that I can get through this, specifically through the whiskey without gagging. Me and my cousin Tessa, so shout out Tessa, I'm sure you're gonna listen to this. We had been arguing about who could make the better whiskey sour for months, or for years, actually. Before I even started this podcast, we were arguing over who could make a better whiskey sour. And this past Thanksgiving, we finally put it to the test. Tessa and John, along with Mountain Man Jack and Squeaky Piper, came over to the house, to my parents' house, Thanksgiving night, where I had completely forgotten about this pivotal whiskey sour off. Yet Tessa and John came fully prepared with 3 different glasses, fresh fruit, ingredients that I didn't know what they were, and I had to improvise. And I had to say, I'm a whiskey guy. I am the whiskey guy in this family. I'm not going to be beat. That being said, I go down to my brother's whiskey cabinet, which is also my whiskey cabinet, because what is Kale's is also mine. And I grabbed Buffalo Trace, and I thought, this is a quality bourbon. I'm gonna put this in this whiskey sour. I'm gonna use this bourbon. It's gonna be better than whatever Tessa and John brought, because they don't know what's gonna be good in a whiskey sour. And the original rules were my dad was gonna be judged. Now I know my dad better than anybody. I know he has a sweet tooth, and I knew that if I made a very floofy, sweet whiskey sour, he would like that. Although he's a big Ardbeg Scotch drinker, I know in a cocktail he'd like something a bit sweeter, especially something that he's only taking one sip of. So, using that to my advantage, I make the sweetest whiskey sour you can. I put 1 part bourbon, half part simple syrup, half part, I think I used lemon juice. But then to top it off, I put in a few, after the bitters, I put in a little bit of grenadine syrup. And It was a red whiskey sour with with crushed ice in it. I didn't have any sphere ice. So that's what I gave my dad. Whereas Tessa and John put together 3 of the bougiest, most fancy whiskey sours I've ever seen that were definitely way better looking than mine. But I was confident that I knew my dad better and he would go for mine. Little did I know that we implemented 2 other judges as well. And later on, I would come to find out that we were just going to let everybody drink it and see what they thought. So I was correct in assuming that my dad would like mine better because it was floofy and sweet, and I know he has a sweet tooth. So I was right in that aspect. But everyone else, for the most part, liked John and Tessa's better. And they ended up narrowly beating me, let's say 7 people to 6 people. Not sure if those are the exact numbers. But I refused to admit, and I refused to accept defeat, and I actually issued a challenge flag. I was going to challenge the ruling because rules were changed, things were changed, and I did not want to accept the fact that I lost. All in good fun, obviously. So it became a joke for the next few months that I was cheating. I would joke that they were cheating in the whiskey sour off and that I still won. They would argue that they still won. But at the end of the day, I will admit that John and Tessa won the whiskey sour off. And attending John's wake on Thursday, kneeling beside him in his casket, saying my last goodbyes to my dear friends, I did tell him. I looked right at him and I said, "You son of a bitch, you won the whiskey sour off." And I hope he heard me. I actually know he heard me. And I hope he laughed. And I hope he appreciates the fact that I am admitting defeat. And that doesn't happen often. My second story leads into the 2 whiskeys that are in front of me. John, Tessa, and the rest of the Gilbert clan had gone on a family vacation to Canada, going skiing, spending time with the family as they should have. I am not a winter sports guy. I don't do any of that stuff. But my cousins over on the dad's side there, they like that. They like to do that. So they went to Canada. And they thought of me. Tessa and John thought of me and picked me up what they thought was a whiskey, but it's actually not. And this is all in French. So I believe it's called Sortilège, Liqueur de Whiskey Canadian. Oh, I didn't even pronounce that. Sortilège is the bewitching blend of 2 Canadian specialties, the complexity of our whiskey and the sweetness of our maple syrup. A perfect enveloping combination. Enjoy on its own or on ice. It's 30% alcohol by volume, so not a whiskey. And the bottle itself is sticky. Like, it's actually sticky. It smells like maple syrup, so I'm not looking forward to drinking that. And we also have this beauty right here, this 1-liter bottle of Saint Leger blended Scotch whiskey, which if you're watching on YouTube, hopefully you can see the price tag. I don't know if you can or not, but it is $42.25 in Canadian money, which John and I joked is probably about $3 American. Sorry to my Canadian friends listening to this podcast. And we opened this the Sunday before, or technically 2 Sundays before John passed away, and we drank this together. And that was the last time I saw John. So, in honor of John, I'm going to review these 2 whiskeys. No matter how difficult it is. I'm going to start with Saint Leger because I've had it before, and I know it's not terrible. Saint Leger is a smooth-tasting Scotch whiskey of truly classic quality. Product, Saint Leger Scotch, Glasgow, It's all in French Canadian, 1.14 liters, 40% alcohol by volume, blended. Since 1776, the Saint Leger Classic, established by Major General A. Saint Leger, has been a time-honored tradition in the United Kingdom. Saint Leger and Company Limited honors this rich tradition with an exquisitely blended, smooth-tasting Scotch whiskey of truly classic quality. Now, that's bullshit, but screw top. So you know that's strike one. Let's pour it into the Glencairn. Not looking forward to this. Swirly poo. And it smells, so this Saint Leger is actually quite inviting. Now, does it smell kind of like dehydrated piss? A little bit. Not as strong. Does it smell a little bit like if you mix piss with motor oil? Yeah, a little bit. Does it have the ever faintness of a green apple and maybe some type of light fruit? Yes. Does it smell like something I drink on the regular? Absolutely not. But we're going to drink it. Smells light. Smells like a very cheap blended scotch. But cheers to dram number 1, Saint Leger blended Scotch whiskey. The last dram I enjoyed with my good friend John. Let's drink it. Let's see, it doesn't taste terrible. It does have a little bit of a mapleness to it. And it's very light. There's no burn going down. And it's very appley and grainy in a bit. Nothing too intense, nothing too special. But it's not 100% awful. John wasn't a fan of this. And I believe the last time I had this was the night he passed away. I poured a dram in remembrance of him at his house. So, if I'm going to give this an honest rating, I'd probably give it let me give it one more sip. Like a 5.4. There's probably worse things in the world when it comes to whiskey-based spirits, but it's not very good. And I would only drink it to remember John. So that one's getting off to the side. This is the one I'm not excited for, people. This isn't even a whiskey. This is going to be the only non-whiskey product that I probably ever review on here on an actual episode of Who Gives a Dram. Sortilège is the bewitching blend of 2 Canadian specialties, the complexity of our whiskey and the sweetness of our maple syrup. This bottle is actually sticky. Like, I mean it when I say there's maple syrup on the outside here. Like right there is sticky. And it's done in Quebec. 750 mils. I'm not looking forward to this at all. Ugh, here we go. Ugh. The cap is so sticky. It smells like plastic maple syrup. Oh, God. If this is very viscous, I might throw up. It's definitely a little bit viscous. This is going to be cough syrup. I hope I don't gag. So like I said, Sortilège or whatever, there's the bottle right there. Pretty good looking bottle, not going to lie. Heavy base, nice glass. 30% alcohol. Yeah, that does not smell good at all. That does not smell appetizing. That smells like if you burnt a piece of plastic and poured maple syrup over it. Aunt Jemima's maple syrup over it. I'm not looking forward to this at all. Oh, God. Oh, man, this does not smell good. This is the worst thing I've ever smelled in my entire life. All right, well, Tessa and John, this is for you. I would only do this for you, so whatever the name of this is. Cheers. I'm a little nervous. Oh, God. It tastes like maple syrup. It's just so it's the viscosity of it that's getting to me. It's too thick. That's what they say about me too, especially when I'm doing my squats, but it's too thick. I'll take another sip. It tastes like sour maple syrup. It tastes like if you put a dryer sheet in maple syrup, and not in a good way, and then put some water in it. Tastes like if like a homeless person spit in a bottle of maple syrup, but a homeless person that brushed his teeth. Like one of them Washington D.C. homeless people that have like double-decker tents and generators. So they're not homeless actually. They have a home. Their home is bigger than my apartment. It just happens to be on the corner of 5th and Broadway or whatever. Oh. Mm-mm. Yeah. Like it tastes like maple syrup, but it's so sour. It tastes like if Aunt Jemima sweat into her. If she had a batch of maple syrup and she was working a little too hard and she sweat into it and bottled it and was just like, it's been a long day. This no one's gonna get this, and this it happened to go to me. It tastes like an Aunt Jemima sweaty maple syrup. But you can taste the maple. I will say that it is. I would never drink this again. I'll never drink this again. This will be the only time I drink it. I have to finish it though. Oh God. Ugh. It's like a 2.2. Not good. Not good. I wouldn't even put that like on my pancakes. Well, Tessa and John, I hope you're happy that was reviewed, because that was the worst thing I've done on this podcast by far. And I need to take a sip of water. So there you have it. Whatever this is called in St. Legier's, 2 whiskey reviews that aren't good. But I look at these bottles and I think of my friend John. And I want to close this podcast by saying, my dad always says something, and he's been saying it since I was a kid. And at first I thought it was a little cheesy or just something that I'd never really thought about until I became older, and I thought about it more. And I thought about this saying, and I thought about the implications it has in life and mindset. And that saying is kin is kin. And I take that to heart now. It's something that I wholeheartedly believe in and subscribe to. And how I think of the term kin is kin is obviously family is family, meaning If you're my blood, if you're someone that I love, I will do anything for you. Family's not only blood. I have plenty of family that are of no direct relation to me, but I consider them brothers, sisters, moms, dads, whatever it is. I consider them part of my circle. And John was part of that circle. John is a man that served his country diligently, was extremely smart, talented, funny, good-looking guy, had everything going for him. And it's an absolute shame that he's no longer here. And I wish, just like I wish with my Uncle Craig, that I could sit down with him and just talk to him one more time. Just one more time. And just try to figure out what he's going through and do my best to help him. So kin is kin. Check in on your loved ones. Check on other people that you want to check in on. Because I've said this in the past, but it rings true still, and it will ring true until the end of time. You don't know when the last time you're going to see them is. Thankfully, my last memory of John is drinking this St. Leger whiskey. Incredibly bad. Laughing about South Park, Anchorman, watching some football, and hanging out with Mountain Man Jack and Squeaky Pipes, and my brother and Tessa and Miranda, and having a really good Sunday afternoon. That was my last memory of John. It's the last time I talked to him. And John, I'm sure you're listening to this in some capacity. I truly believe that you're still here, but I want to say thank you for being a unconditionally loving Tessa, because I love Tessa more than anything as well, for providing or bringing in two of the most wonderful kids and two my cousins into this world, and just for being a good man, for helping with Uncle Craig, and for being a Gilbert. I'm gonna miss you, man. I really am. You were a good dude, and someone that I wish I could talk to one more time. But just make sure you checked in on your loved ones. Make sure you reach out to that person you want to reach out to. Ask how people are doing. Be there for people. Go out of your way to go see somebody, or to text somebody, or call somebody, or FaceTime someone, and just check in. Because you never know, that could mean the world to somebody. And that's going to do it for me this week. I'm going to put John's obituary in the show notes. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more about the life of John Harrington, Sergeant First Class, check out the show notes. I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank everybody for reaching out and making sure I'm okay. I don't know if I'll ever be fully okay, but we have to move on, onward and upward, and we will. And to Tessa, Dean, Allie, Aunt Jeannie, my family, Mom, Dad, Kale, Grace, my cousins, everybody, and the rest of my kin that aren't family, I want to say I love you guys very much. Mountain Man Jack, Squeaky Pipes, I love you guys, and I will always be here for you guys. So thank you for listening this week to Who Gives a Dram. I'll be back next week with another whiskey review, and until then, always remember, whiskey's the water of life, so let's start living.